welcome back to our grade 10 maths lessons. I am Miss Awinup, your grade 10 maths teacher. In our last lesson, we looked at multiplication and division of sets. In today's lesson, we are going to be rationalizing the denominator. Okay, rationalizing, right, denominators. Right. Now, rationalizing denominators is an extension of division, but this time we have a radical as a denominator. Okay, a radical as the denominator. So let's have a look at root A divided by square root of B. Okay, in the last few lessons, or in our last lesson actually, we looked at division, but where the denominator was a rational number or a whole number. Okay, here we have a radical as the denominator, so we use this method of rationalizing the denominator to get rid of that irrational number. Okay, now we've done this before. You may have not realized it when we are dividing by fractions. Okay, so for instance, we have a number, say 5 divided by 0.2. Okay, now 0.2 is a decimal number. It is irrational. Okay, so when we are dividing by decimals, okay, we try to make this decimal a whole number, so we multiply by a power of 10. Okay, now this is what we do in decimals when we want to rationalize the denominator. So this is irrational. We multiply it by a power of 10 so that 0.2 becomes a rational number of 2. Okay, so the same idea is translated to sets. We multiply this denominator by the radical here so that we can make the number rational. Okay, or we make sense of that number. So let's try it out here. Root A over root B, okay, is equal to, now we're going to rationalize root A over root B. We multiply it by the denominator. Okay, so multiply by root B over root B. Okay, so what happens here? Remember, in our last lesson where we squared a number or a radical by itself, the number inside the square root sign is the answer. So that's what happens here. Okay, so this one becomes root A times B over root B times root B is actually being squared like this. So our answer is square root of AB over B. Okay, so we have made this irrational of root B become rational as B. All right, now it might be unclear when we use algebra, so we are going to put some numbers in there and see how this makes sense. Okay, so let's use an example that has numbers. Okay, example number 1, where we have 2 root 12 divided by 3 root 54. Okay, now the idea of simplifying before going into the rest of the working out still continues here. We need to do that here before we go into rationalizing. Okay, so 12 and 54 can be simplified. Okay, remember, one of the factors you use must be a perfect square. Okay, so 2 multiplied by root 4 times 3 divided by 3 square root of 9 times 6. Okay, so 4 and 9 here are perfect squares. We are going to remove the square root of these two numbers. So square root of 4 is 2. So it's multiplied by the coefficient of 2 and then multiplied by root 3. Okay, square root of 9 is 3. So we take it out and multiply by the coefficient. And we are left with 6 in the radical sign. Okay, we are still simplifying. Okay, so this is 4 root 3 divided by 9 root 6. Now, we can do the division now, but we find that we have the radical sign as a denominator, so we are going to rationalize. Okay, so we write this as 4 root 3 over 9 root 6 multiplied by root 6 over root 6. Okay, so we are doing like what we did here in the example. All right, we multiply the radical in the denominator by itself. Okay, so that should give us a rational number. Right, we multiply across because we are working with fractions. So numerator will be multiplied by numerator and denominator will be multiplied by denominator. So we have 4 root 3 times 6 divided by 9, okay, root 6 times 6. Okay, now we are going to simplify this one here, the radical sign at the denominator. Okay, so 6 times 6 is 36. It's a square number, all right, and the square root of 36 would be the number itself, which is 6. So what we have left now is 4 root 18 divided by 9 times 6. Okay, 9 times 6, which is square root of 36. Right. 4 root 18 over 9 times 6 is 54. Okay. You can't leave this as it is. This answer is not in its simplest terms, so we need to simplify this. And every answer you give must be in its simplest form. So 18 can be reduced, and 4 and 54 can also be reduced. Okay, so we are going to do that. Let's look at 4. Factors of 18 are 9 and 2. So we have 4 times root of 9 times 2 divided by 54. Okay. Square root of 9 is 3, so remove 3 and multiply it by the coefficient, which is 4. So 4 times 3 multiplied by root 2 divided by 54. Okay. 4 times 3 is 12. Okay. 12 root 54. Sorry, 12 root 2 divided by 54. And then simplify here to 12 divided by 6, which is 2, and 54 divided by 6, which is 9. So our final answer would be 2 root 2 divided by 9. Okay? And now this is your final answer. Okay? So we started off with simplifying. We found that we had a radical sign in the denominator. So we have to rationalize so that we remove the radical sign and replace it with a rational number. So once you rationalize the denominator, you find that we have 54, which is a rational. Once you get this answer, you check. If you can simplify, you simplify. Otherwise, you have your answer as it is. Okay? Now, I hope you've had fun with me in grade 10 because this is the last lesson in our grade 10 topics. And in the next lesson, when I see you, I will be helping out with grade 11. Okay? Make sure you continue to review this work because it is basics that you will need in grade 11. Okay? You have ways of seeing our lessons again. I hope you can find out so that you go back when you are unsure. Okay? Thank you for joining me. I'll see you in our next lesson.